We're going to deviate a little bit from the agenda here. I'm going to move the President's report up at this time. He's had some conversations that I think we need to hear about. So if you just go ahead and handle your report at this time, Mr. President, I appreciate it.
Well, I called Morris this morning, and he came out and joined me for a cup of coffee, and we talked about what we thought would be happening with respect to our, I will call it affiliation / merger. And so I called Andy Tompkins this afternoon, and we visited for about 30 minutes. And Andy Tompkins is going to ask the Board of Regents, and in some of their meetings, they feel that the Board of Regents is not going to take the potential of us doing this next year or the year after away. They're just going to postpone it. And so the request is going to be to the legislature to postpone it. And I very candidly visited with him about several different issues, and I think my feeling is that one of these days, and we maybe after elections, it may be next year, it may be 2 years down the road, but one of these days our board's going to agree on what they want to do. And whatever we agree on, Andy assured me that the Board of Regents will look at it. So that they are there to try to help us accomplish what we want to accomplish. And he was very candid about that, and I just wanted to report that to the board and the audience.
We're now ready for Trustees Report. Dr. Joy.
Nothing to report.
Dr. Presley.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Webb.
Nothing.
Mrs. Hammer.
Left it to me.
You got to make the report.
I wanted to say that, you know, in all the last conversations we've had with people in the community, I really do appreciate that. Even though we haven't agreed on everything. But I do think that because we are community, and I'm saying county included, that really it has made an opportunity for us to become better acquainted, and the fact that we all care about what happens. And again, I will emphasize, we all wanted two things to happen: the baccalaureates and the tech center. We have not yet agreed on how that's to happen. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the community and all the people that have been here.
All right, I want to second Mrs. Hammond's comments. You know, I think we all want the same thing. It's the manner in which it's going to be done, you know, and it deals with the governance, and that's the issue. It's really the only issue. Once that issue is resolved, the rest of it's easy. So, at any rate, having said that, I do need to report on the ACCT conference, which I did attend, the leadership conference in Chicago, October 22nd to the 25th. It was an excellent conference. The theme of the conference was Winds of Change. And throughout the facility, they had this sign, and I'll just share it with you. It said, "Change is inevitable. Change is essential for our survival. You should not fear change, you should embrace it." And that's kind of the theme of the conference. Some of the highlights, and there were really a couple of real highlights. I thought the most relevant was by Chuck Underwood. Chuck Underwood is an author on business and personal dynamics. His book is titled The Generational Imperative: Understanding Generational Differences in Workplace, Marketplace, and Living Room. And he should have added the educational institutions as well, because as he indicates, if we're going to do an adequate job of educating young people, we need to present the education program to them and the curriculum in the manner in which they will understand it. And there are differences in generations and how they perceive things. I know 3 of us here are at least a little long in the tooth, and there are what are called depression babies. We have a little different outlook on life than the millennium babies do. So, and business and industry use his book as a reference in planning their marketing and these kinds of things. It depends on which generation gap they want to sell the product to. Then they'll package their marketing so that it'll be relevant to that particular generation. Another highlight I thought was a presentation by Robert Zimmer, who's the president of the University of Chicago. He spoke on the winds of change in education, and I think you all know, kind of what the winds of change are right now. We're moving towards a more technical education as far as higher education is concerned, and a lot of that relates back then to the generational differences that Underwood spoke of. We had another good presentation by Linda Johnson Rice. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Ebony and Jet magazines, and she talked at length about some of the issues that the African American student in higher education is facing, as well as the efforts that they're doing to secure or raise scholarships fund for African American students. Noah Brown, also, who is president of the ACCT, also gave a good presentation. Attended quite a number of sessions. I always attend the session on the community college legal staff, and nothing really changes too much there. The hot button issues right this year are domestic violence, sexual harassment, and free speech. So that's pretty much been the mantra for the last 2 or 3 years. We did attend a session on the federal issues, and
That was interesting.
yeah, it really was. And of course, the usual things: renewal of the Higher Education Act, the attempt to increase the amount of Pell Grants, veterans issues, student loan default, which is getting to be a significant issue across the country. And I attended another one I thought was real interesting by McHenry Community College of Illinois. It made a presentation on MOOCs. A MOOC is a massive open online course, and that would be those courses that are available online or no tuition. You can take them and you don't get any credit for them, but I think there's more and more of those coming online daily. And the last one was a session that's put on by South Texas Community College, and that is that baccalaureates offered through community colleges. There are 5 states that have authorized selected community college to reach baccalaureate degrees, provided they are tied into the workforce requirements of the region. And the 2 large ones are Texas, which is probably the reddest state behind Kansas, and California, which is probably the bluest state. But one of them in California I know is Rancho Los Positos, which is up in Alameda County, and I'm familiar with them as the associate superintendent there in Alameda County. We dealt with their budget all the time. So at any rate, I thought it was an excellent conference. I encourage other trustees to attend the HCCT conferences. I think find them very informative. And
Thank you, Morris. Good.
that brings us to the last half of the President's Report.
I got an email from Dr. Presley asking us to put some information for the board together that dealt with the retention and turnover summary of our entire staff, and I have prepared that from the board. As you can see, there aren't a lot of changes. We really haven't. We kind of respond to needs, and they may not all be the same people, but but what we've done is try to respond and to give you the information. Also, we talked about some student parameters. I did email you the surveys that we've done, and I would be happy to discuss any of this data with you. I think the thing that really tickles me is our graduation rates just keep coming up. We're up to 41% graduated. Our retention rates are improving, or staying stable anyway. We're looking at 60. We're gonna have to redefine this a little bit, because we've got Foresight 2020, in which we're going to be expected to have 60% completion rate by our students. And we have a lot of part-time students, and we're going to have to be real careful how that is done, and we're working with the Board of Regents to get that done. But they're being very, very reasonable about it to this point. So I hope this is what you were looking for, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you.